I hope these microphones work. I'll be testing all this later on tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because there's a slight breeze, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. Yeah.
It'll put my college work to test. See if they really taught me something. Thank you, Sked.
Oh, man.
But we're live, and this is the second episode of the Nature Lyceum podcast. Very good.
Awesome.
I'm here with Abra from Feisty Acres, and we're just going to shoot the shit about everything that's going on right now. I want to know... We'll tell the people about your operation, about you and Chris, how you guys got into this. You know, just a little introduction would be great.
Oh, absolutely. He's looking at me right now. He's signaling. Yeah, you can move the truck, babe. Go right ahead. Anyway, so yes. So we run the farm together, Chris and I. We're the only two people who do it. And right now we're leasing about 13.5 acres here in Peconic. And we run a bunch of different kinds of poultry. So we do pasture-raised poultry and game birds, and we're doing what we call specialty poultry just because a lot of the things that we offer are not birds that are typically in the grocery store, though we do offer those as well. So right now we're doing chickens for eggs and for meat. We're doing ducks for eggs, quail for eggs and meat, guinea hens for meat, turkeys for Thanksgiving, obviously for meat, and we also do partridge, which is available once a year.
Wow.
We raise all of our birds on pasture, typically from chick to your plate. Any of the noise that you hear in the background are just a bunch of hens foraging in the evening hours when it's nice and cool, and sometimes they get frisky. So sometimes there's some pecking orders shit that needs to get... Can we curse on this?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent. This podcast just got way better.
We're smoking pot on this sometimes. We're doing the whole
that's
nine
wonderful.
yards.
I saw that you, in your Instagram stories, that you were doing marijuana trials.
Yeah.
I would love to show you some of our plants that we have in the field.
Yeah.
I say mine. I mean Chris. Chris is really the one who does it. So we do a bunch of birds, and we offer them for meat and eggs. We have a big CSA here on the East End, and we serve one of the biggest markets in New York City, Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn. We go there once a week. We sell to...
And you guys have been there for like 2 years now, right? 3 years?
Been at Grand Army Plaza since 2018.
Oh, wow.
We started at Union Square in 2017 and then got offered the Brooklyn spot. And then I quit Union Square a year after the pandemic started because it just got to be too much. It just got to be too much.
Yeah, I hear a lot of farmers backing out of markets these days because it's just taking, it's grueling weekends.
It's grueling weekends, and it used to be okay when diesel wasn't $7 a gallon.
Right.
Or when gas wasn't $4 to $5 a gallon. Mm-hmm. There's less of an incentive to go to a farmer's market now and bring your food into places where people need food because of fuel prices, because of snags in the supply chain, making it more difficult for farmers to get parts for their tractors, their trucks, any kind of vehicles, any other kind of equipment that they might need to store produce, process produce, store eggs, store meat. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's happening all across the country.
The cost of getting by.
Yeah, the cost of getting by, the cost of doing business, which was already harrowing.
Yeah. Truly. So what made you choose chickens and game birds and specialty birds and things like that?
Right. So as you know, I worked for Chris Browder for a few seasons from 2014 through about 2017. I had worked for him in various capacities, full-time, part-time, and, he raised, at the time, just chickens, and I had the privilege of doing one of the farmers markets for them, which was the East Hampton Farmers Market, and it was a great market. Mm-hmm. It was a great market, and people were always asking questions, and people were always wanting to know, what breed of chicken is this? Or, how are the birds raised? And then I started getting questions of, do you guys carry quail? Do you guys carry pheasant? Do you guys carry turkey? And, you just get hit over the head so many times before you go, fuck.
Opportunity.
There's obviously there's obviously a want for these types of products out here. So Chris and I started with quail. We started with quail just in that first year in 2015, and we branched out from there. And then the following season we did, burping from the beer. Guinea,
good beer.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. I'm glad you.
West Hampton Beach Brewery.
Yeah, I'm glad you got this. And like I said, I'm glad it's not an IPA, because we would have had to had a discussion about that.
Nope.
Yeah, so there was a niche in the market to be filled. Chris and I had enough experience to not only pick up on that, but also act upon it. And we had great support from, other farmers. We leased our first acreage from Phil Barbado at Biophilia Organic Farm. We were there from 2015 to 2018 until we outgrew the farm. And, I was also working for Phil part-time while I was working for Chris Browder. Chris was working for Tom Wickham. So I think to kind of give people a perspective, we were working for other people's farms while we were getting our own farm off the ground. And Chris and I didn't actually get to start farming full time with no jobs outside of our own until about 2 years ago. And it's liberating, but it's also a struggle because we're still kind of living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. So,
as I think a lot of farmers are these days, right?
Yes, and a lot of farmers. This is a staggering statistic, and I didn't know this until maybe about a couple months ago. 96% of farmers in the United States have an outside job outside of farming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah. So that's farms of all sizes, small, medium, large. It's a real thing. At least somebody in that family, at least one person has at least a part-time job outside of the farm to help make ends meet.
Yeah.
And so, that's wild. So I want people to know straight off the bat that if you are serious about getting into farming, it's really difficult to separate farming from your actual life because the two kind of meld, and you don't get that work-life balance that a lot of other careers offer. And if you do want that work-life balance, you have to work even more hard to achieve that.
Right, to really separate yourself.
So don't go setting up a fucking chicken farm because you had a dream about it.
It's super interesting, just, the playing field of who you have out there.
Yeah.
Producing.
Yeah, so it's really important that if you are starting a farm from nothing, do your market research. It's not like a glamorous or sexy part of farming, but it's really important, and just because you grow it doesn't mean people want it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sometimes a hard pill for people to swallow. So always do your market research. What is missing in the market? What are customers constantly asking you for? Take notes.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Well, it's like it's the overlying thing of what's your role here? Okay, well, I do this. I'm helping Chris Browder selling his chickens and whatnot, hearing that people want quail. Well, I can bring that to my community. Mm-hmm. And I think that's amazing. I don't know how many people have that mindset, which is what I think is the really interesting part of we need more do we need more farmers? There are so many farmers. Do they just need the support? There's all these different buzzword conversations of...
Oh, yeah. I mean, food and agriculture is just full of buzzword conversations.
Even this cage-free pasture raised, I want you to go into that a little bit.
Sure.
Many people have asked me, so what's the difference between free range and pasture raised? I'm like, well, know your farmer, because it might not even mean what you think it does.
Yeah. So this is a subject that could actually probably have its own episode, because some of these words that are on the cartons are regulated by the government, the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, and some aren't. So the term certified organic is a term that is regulated by the government. There is a whole organization within the USDA that deals with the laws and regulations of being a certified organic farm. That organization is called the National Organic Program, also known as the NOP. And they basically, at a federal level, set the guidelines and regulations for various industries within agriculture, and they set the guidelines for what makes an organic operation and what doesn't make an organic operation. Now, when it comes to chicken eggs, certified organic only means that the birds are at federal level. This is at a federal level. Excuse me, I keep burping from the beer. A lot of problems going on here.
Great.
I thought the chickens
We're
would
real
be
people.
So certified organic eggs, chicken eggs, mean that those chickens have eaten only certified organic feed, vegetable scraps or anything. So basically they've only ingested certified organic feed, or if they're on pasture. At a federal level, chickens are not required to be on pasture or soil to be certified organic. They could have access to a cement porch or a dirt lot outside, but they just have to have access. Whether or not they use that access is a whole other question. Whether or not they can get from one side of the barn to the other side of the barn to go outside is another question. And so you have state regulators within the National Organic Program. NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farmers Association, they're very rigorous in what they considered certified organic. Anyone who's certified organic out here on Long Island, for the most part, is certified by NOFA. And NOFA will not certify your poultry operation unless the chickens are outside on pasture for like the majority of their life.
Nice.
Yes. So
That you trust.
yes. So you really have to see who is regulating what. Yeah. You have to really see who's regulating what operations, because there are a lot of certified organic chicken eggs out there on the market, and those birds don't eat a blade of grass in their lives.
Yeah. The farmer can just pay for the certification. They get the stamp. Doesn't really mean much.
Now, that's not to say that there aren't people out there doing it right. There's plenty of people out there who are doing it right. You know, as we know, most of the people here are on Long Island who are raising chickens, whether or not they're certified organic, are raising their chickens outside on pasture like we are right here, right?
Well, you guys aren't certified and...
No, but we were once.
Oh, really?
Yes. So let's dive into that story because Chris and so here in the United States, I had only worked on certified organic farms. Chris has worked on all sorts of farms here in the United States. Organic ones, non-organic ones, dairies, you name it. I mean, he's had so much experience on so many different kind of operations. So when we started in 2015, I thought it would be a good idea, since we were doing something so specialized and I really wanted to get into those New York City markets, having a certification would help us get our foot in the door in the market. Totally. And it did. And Phil Barbado, Biophilia, he was like super open with how he kept his records. He showed me everything. He was like, here's what you got to do. Oh, here comes Chris in the tractor.
Nice.
Yeah. He showed me everything. He's like, this is what you have to keep track of. You know, if you're an animal operation, you have to keep track of this. There was a lot of stuff to keep track of. I mean, if I fed the chickens food scraps from somewhere, I had to make sure that every single food scrap that they ate was certified organic.
Right.
And I would have to get organic certifications from, like, cookie manufacturers and, like, in order to prove to NOFA that my chickens were only eating certified organic stuff. When we were smaller, it made sense.
Yeah. Not as much work, I would imagine.
Right. When we were smaller, it made sense. It wasn't as much paperwork, but as we scaled up, as we began to grow, as Chris and I quit our jobs, and started farming full-time for ourselves, it became impossible. And we were missing out on a lot of opportunities to use food scraps from restaurants, grocery stores. Me personally, I don't really mind, what my chickens are eating in terms of food scraps. I'd rather them eat it and turn it into nutritious protein than it going into a landfill.
Right.
If it's conventional, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Goes through enough processes that we're not eating the pesticide.
Correct. And, you know, if you would have talked to me 10 years ago, I would have been a completely different person. I would have been very dogmatic about everything being certified organic. I was younger then. I was more inexperienced in running a business then. You know, now I see that, you know, certified organic is good for some operations and it's not as good for others. And, you know, again, 10 years ago, I would have totally shit on other farms that weren't operating like we were. And, you know, I was up my own ass, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really was. And
as most people are these days.
Of course. And, you know, I think that a lot of people are like that when they just start farming, because you want to uphold these ideals, and you want to make sure that you are creating nutritious food for people in the best way you can. And then you have to operate in the real world.
Yeah, make your money, live.
Yeah. And also you just have to understand, like, you know, do we want all these food scraps going into the landfill, or do we want our pigs and our cows and our chickens to eat them?
Yeah.
So we were certified organic for a while. And then I think it was the first year of the Trump administration. I forget the name of the Secretary of Ag at the time. But he basically was allowing the National Organic Program to go through these grand sweeping changes of kind of changing what certified organic meant. So if you're a certified organic operation, the whole point of being certified organic is to build, preserve, and better the soil. Now, there were a lot of, I can't name them because they'll come after me, right? Probably.
On this giant podcast.
Yeah, right. You know what? You never know. Don't
give me 10
sell
years,
short,
y'all.
dude. No, so there's a big berry grower, and they wanted to get in on the certified organic game because, you know, certified organic produce and meats and food products, every single year the sales go up exponentially. And if you're a corporation, you want a piece of that pie, so you're going to figure out how to get it, right? So
Of course.
This berry farm, this berry company, I guess, wanted to certify their hydroponic operation. But as we all know, or as I think we all know, hydroponics doesn't include soil.
Yeah.
So it therefore cannot be certified organic. Well, fucking A, they figured out a way, and it was, I forget what year it was. It was either 2016 or 2017 that happened. And then there was a change in poultry because organic chicken was one of the sectors of the organic industry which was just growing at this unreal rate. And these big chicken operations, I'm sorry, every time
I wish I could pan
by,
back so y'all can see Chris, but it's fine.
He's
That's the perks of being on the farm.
Yeah, no, he's just on a fucking mission over there. So yeah, the poultry industry is also growing exponentially, and a lot of these larger poultry operations wanted to get in on that, but they couldn't certify their operations to be organic because they couldn't put their chickens on pasture.
Right. So how do we certify the non-pasture chickens? We'll do it.
They did it. And that was all at a federal level. So you have organizations like NOFA, and
the Real Organic Project, maybe.
Yes, the Real Organic Project. You know, they're now we're having to certify organic farms a second time, which to me, I don't know how that's going to go, because it took 30 years for people to understand what organic meant. And now they're going to have to understand what actual organics means. I mean, it's just... So once that all happened, Chris and I basically were like, fuck this.
Yeah.
This means nothing anymore. And I mean, you know, that's our personal feelings. Again, you know, anyone out there listening who's still certified organic, I mean, we still support all the certified organic farms who we know are actually
organic, right?
Organic and upholding those regulations.
I feel like it's just lost so much integrity.
Yes, and so we could no longer put our money towards that, because we have to spend money to get certified. So we have a certification fee. which is not a lot. It's a sliding scale based upon how much income, but that was like another like $1,500 I have to shell out at the beginning of every year in order to keep my certification. And I was like, you know what? We can't do this anymore. And before we decided to drop the certification, I asked all of my customers in our newsletter and also at the Union Square Farmers Market at the time, would you give a shit if we dropped our organic certification? And they said no. And, the fact that they could talk to me directly mattered most. The fact that we were really transparent in our emails really mattered to them. Our social media.
You basically didn't need the certification. We know you're organic.
Correct. And I mean, like, I wouldn't call myself organic at all within the least because, again, like, I feed my chickens, like, leftover Fritos sometimes.
Right.
Like, that's not organic, but...
Girls get a treat.
Yeah, but, they love it.
Yeah,
it's
just
fine.
like we do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so interested all the time because I go to get, like, bacon at the grocery store and it'll be, like, vegetarian-fed pig or vegetarian-fed chickens with the chicken eggs. And it's so interesting because I'm like, well, if one of these girls die, like, they're all going to eat her. And I know that. And I know if I keel over in the pasture, they'd eat me too.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, no chicken wants to be a vegetarian.
No. And they shouldn't be. They are omnivorous. If you had a bug and a piece of grass next to each other, the chicken would go after the bug.
Right.
I mean, without a doubt. So that's certified organic. So certified organic at this point basically just means that animal was not given any antibiotics to treat any diseases during the course of its life. And also that everything that it ate was certified organic. Mm-hmm. Free range. Free range just means that the chickens are not in cages. Free range could mean in a barn. Free range could mean outside. Free range could mean anything. Free range is also a term that is not regulated by the government.
Cool.
Okay. Cage free, same thing, not regulated by the government as far as I can remember. Pasture raised is currently not regulated by the government. There are third-party agencies out there, however, that will certify you as pasture raised or certified humane, but those are not regulated by the government. What are the other things? Yeah, the vegetarian fed thing. If it says vegetarian fed on an egg carton, you can be almost 100% sure that those chickens never go outside.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that this is all really just for the comfort of, the mind of somebody who's not looking at a farm, perhaps, or maybe that's a little too much of a generalization, but, like, I find it, all these stamps and all these certifications to be, like, molding us to these comfortabilities of, like, well, if I don't see the USDA organic stamp, then I wouldn't get that, you know, and that's not worth the price it is if that's not USDA organic.
Well, we live in a country where we can make those decisions, and I think that the fact that we can make those decisions is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, privilege.
So I wouldn't want that to change. I'm not entirely sure what I would want to change in terms of how people understand where their food comes from. One of the things that always comes to my mind is the fact that about 60 or 70 years ago, everyone knew a farmer at some point, whether they were like your neighbor, your uncle, your dad, your mom, your grandmother, Aunt Joe, like...
Right.
We now are so far removed from agriculture that we don't even know what questions to ask anymore. And so that's no one's fault. That's just what happens with modernity.
Yeah.
I think.
Comfortability, I suppose.
Yeah. And so it's a distinct privilege to be able to talk to a farmer that is actually growing your food as well. I mean, not everybody can afford to go to a farmer's market. Not everybody can take the time out of their schedule to visit a farm to see if it's right for them to buy produce from there or beef from there. We have single moms that would never be able to do that. We have families that would never, even like families that live in the city that would never be able to make the time to come out and do that. Or, even sometimes come to certain farmers markets because they're just like They're just not around.
Right.
So
well, that's where labeling becomes important, but we're fooled half the time, or misled rather, that it's not as honest and transparent as you would say.
No, and I don't blame the farmers for that. I blame corporate interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost every problem you can blame corporate interest. I mean, it's that's
why we're gluttons.
Yeah, and it's why a lot of this stuff has gotten out of hand. So, as to what people should do when choosing eggs, if you can, and if you see it in the grocery store, pasture raised, in my opinion, as a chicken farmer.
It's a valid opinion.
Yeah, I think that pasture raised is always the first thing I look for on any product that's an animal product, whether it be pigs and beef and chicken. Can I always get it? No. And that's fine
not
too.
Not the end of the world.
Right,
yeah.
Not the end of the world. So, God, balance is important.
Yeah.
Balance is super important. So yeah, pasture raised, I would say, is the most important thing. And then if organic matters to you, certified organic, and then, you've got cage free and free range, which basically mean the same thing for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
really interesting. Just fun words to dance around and figure out what they really mean.
Yeah. No, that was a great question.
Oh goodness, there's so much into chicken farming that you don't even realize until you're there doing it. Like even the processing days. The first time I ever processed a chicken or came close to a dead chicken like that was with you and Chris. And
oh really?
Brought Snowy and I
before
in.
you. Wow.
Yeah, I'd never, and maybe I faked it till I made it, but I had never. So I'm, give me a knife.
I have no idea.
Thank you.
I have no idea. Bravo.
Thank you. So I grabbed the chicken and Chris is like, put it in the cone, just slice here. Yeah. It's nothing. And I'm like, fucking shoulders back, chin up, slice.
Yeah, bitch, it's nothing.
It's nothing.
You're gonna take your life right now.
And I was like, oh, that was actually kind of sad. And immediately Chris was like, no, it's not sad. That's one bad day of a really good life.
Yeah.
And I have held that from last summer with me every single day I'm out in the fields, because it's just, no matter, even if you're talking about vegetables, the day I cut you, that should be one bad day. I care for your quality of life as much as I care for mine.
Yeah, and isn't it weird that, you had to come over that last summer, and you came over it great, because now you're like a natural.
Thank you.
It's but I think that the being shielded from death, another recent thing, another thing that has.
Ooh. Oh wow. Girls fighting.
Oh, Speckled Sussex got her ass kicked. Sorry, girl. Damn, that's embarrassing.
Try again tomorrow.
I'm embarrassed for you.
At least the camera wasn't on her.
I know. No, I think that being separated from death in our society has really been detrimental to us, especially in how we choose to feed ourselves, because we think that clean food that's clean of death is the best food, on top of like all these other things that we want it to be organic, and these like words
that
we pick out of the air,
magical words
that we pick out of the air. And people don't realize that even vegetables, there are studies that are coming out now about vegetables feeling pain and communicating to each other. Like when they're cut or damaged, they communicate to the other plants around them. Like, I'm getting fucked up. You're next.
Run.
Yeah, you're next. Like, start secreting that nasty stuff, so that when the bug bites you, it'll be repelled and it'll taste nasty. And like, so, it's just, I always find that interesting.
No vegan is humane. Not as humane as they think they are.
Well, look, again, we live in a society where you can pick and choose what it is that you want to eat. And so you have these, hello chicken. So you have folks that really get sucked into this dogma of, this is clean and this is unclean, and this is good and this is ungood. And the nuance is lost on them, because, even if you're buying, like, let's say you're not even buying processed vegan food. Let's say you're not buying the Beyond Meat. Let's say you're
eating mushrooms from a farmer or something.
You're eating mushrooms, or like you're eating greens or whatever else like that. And that's cool. That's fine. But like, how did those greens come to your plate? I mean, how did they get there? Well, first, the farmer's got to till the land. If they're then, and we're not talking about like no-till or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
let's not get down there.
Yeah. Okay. But if we're going to be feeding people at scale, there is going to have to be tillage in the land. And tillage in the land creates havoc for microbes, bacteria, insects that live in the soil, any kind of rodents that might be living in the grass or the upper levels of the soil, any kind of fawns, deer,
right.
rabbits, squirrels, woodchucks, groundhogs that might be living in the tall grasses or your cover crop that you planted on your land. You're basically eradicating their habitat. You could be killing them. You probably are killing them. And, you know, this happens at least once a year.
Right.
And we can't even count the hundreds of thousands of animals and bacteria and microbes and insects that die, even in an acre field.
Right.
So if you're growing vegetables, that's like thing number one. Like tillage causes death. When you're cultivating vegetables to keep the weeds away, you know, you're having to disturb the soil again.
If you're spraying, you're definitely killing other things.
And, you know, if you're growing rice or something like that in Texas or in Australia, like, you're keeping the ducks away, the wild ducks, whether that be by poisoning them, shooting them, trapping them.
Yeah, what say you?
Yeah, so, you know, it's no matter what you eat, something else has to die because of it. And there's an argument amongst like the meat community and stuff that, oh, I eat this one cow, and it's just one cow killed, but you eat these greens and hundreds of thousands of animals die. And I'm like, okay, that's not a completely fair perspective, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what
that
you're
is
saying.
just showing one side of the spectrum.
Correct,
for sure.
correct. But yeah, nothing is clean. Chris and I do the most minimal tillage possible. We really only till like after the birds have been on a piece of land and it needs to be planted immediately.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just leave it.
Yeah.
We just leave it. We let the nitrogen and the phosphorus and all that's in the calcium just sink into the soil and
do its thing.
Yeah. No, people don't.
Well, because it's back to reality where, like, last year when I was working with Chris at KK's and he was helping Ira maintain the bed, just make sure everything was running okay.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a bed of lettuce that's filled with weeds, and, you know, Ira lost money on that because of those weeds, and we have to scrape them through and see how long that takes us. And it's just, it all at the end of the day is like, well, we need to keep this ship running. And how are we going to do that? I'm going to have to kill some weeds today. And that's going to happen. But I don't know, people definitely are look for that no-till, no this, no that. But well, you go in the fields and work it. God damn it.
Yeah, you don't no-till vegetables and tell me how fucking easy it is. It's
Seriously.
Not easy. Like, those people over at Jamesport Farmstead, or Homestead, or whatever the hell it's called, their fields are gorgeous. They must work their fucking asses off, keeping it that clean, because I would never be able to keep it that clean without machinery.
Well,
so
there's no machinery or anything?
I know that they're doing a lot of no-till. There is a biodynamic aspect.
You got to get certified to call it biodynamic now.
Well, they're certified organic. They're all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
They're all sorts of stuff, but like the products coming out of that farm are good.
Yeah.
So whatever they're doing right.
Well, that's a huge part of all of this shit too. Like, we have really lost a sense of quality.
Yes.
Like I'll eat chicken after eating your guys' birds. I mean, I have spoiled myself.
You're not the only one.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel for like everybody. And if I was in Brooklyn and I could only get like one bird a week from you guys, or whenever you have them, like it's grueling, because you do your taste buds such a service, and then you go to the grocery market and buy a bird, cook it up. I'll be sitting at a table with like my loved ones. Oh, this dinner is so delicious. I'm like, You should taste the broilers out in the North Fork, goddammit. Because
Well,
it really
make sure
is.
you bring them one or two.
Well, I'm such a selfish bitch. I just eat it myself.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. They're good. They're really good.
So good.
They're good.
And we genuinely have lost a sense of quality. But you give it to somebody who's from another country, and they're like, "This tastes like chicken from home," or this. I'd give somebody a tomato from KK's, and they'd be like, "This is a tomato from Sicily." I'm like, "But it's Southolds, goddamn."
Yeah. No, I know, and it's.
Bring quality back.
Well, that's really where Chris and I have, after many seasons now of farming, 7 years now. It'll be 7 years that we have had Feisty Acres, right? Yes, that's correct. 7 years now.
Lucky number 7.
Yeah. Well, this is turning out to be one of our best years yet, so there is something to that. That is something that Chris and I have built our business on. Once we dropped our organic certification, we basically told ourselves, okay, we no longer have this abstract idea to kind of like bring in sales. Now our product has to really speak for itself. And it always did speak for itself, but we became more cognizant of it after we dropped our organic certification. And I mean, you've been around. I mean, we're very detail oriented. We care about the genetics of the birds that we bring in. Like I have not done certain breeds or species of birds because I could not get the genetics that I wanted.
Wow.
Because I have found that certain hatcheries, their Cornish crosses don't grow as quickly, or their breasts are leaner, or like I find that they get more bumblefoot, or I find that they get too big too fast, and I don't want that. I want them to like.
But that's all through trial and error,
Correct.
I would imagine.
Yeah, 7 years. I mean, imagine what we're going to be at like 20 years. I mean, It's going to be even better, right? Quality is super important. And if you have the money and you have the ability to do it, purchase the highest quality product that you can purchase.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not going to be, like a lot of times, that's not going to be our stuff. Chris and I are always grappling with the reality that not everyone can buy our stuff, but if everyone could buy our stuff, we would go out of business.
Yeah. Well, that's the harsh reality of it all. Yeah. But we also, I don't think we're made to get food to everybody. Everybody, we're all supposed to help ourselves out. I don't know if that's all correct. Like, it's so great to be able to raise birds and bring them to this market. It's also really cool to show people how to raise birds. And
that's a good point.
Like maybe you can't come to the market and buy my birds, but I'm sure you could afford 10 chicks
maybe,
and maybe we could figure something out with feed. I don't know. It is a lot and you need space. But for example, I in between my house and my boyfriend's house, I stop in Mineola to get gas every morning.
God, I used to live in Mineola.
Really?
Yeah. Shout out to Michelle if you're listening. She's my best friend from high school. And she will be listening. But yeah, we lived in Mineola.
Yeah, Mineola's sweet, and I go to the same gas station every single time. I'm very good friends with the guy who pumps my gas there now, and he's
self-serve. Or no, full service.
Full service.
Wow,
yeah.
Fancy.
Hell yeah.
Golly.
I know, I'm lazy at 4 a.m. Who knew? But
I get that.
And I'm coming from Connecticut to come farm out here during the day, so I have to be here by like 6 or 7.
Really?
Sometimes, yeah. Fuck. Yeah, my
oh shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, my dedication to my boyfriend and farming is really unmatchable. But I
was gonna kill you.
As somebody who if he doesn't first, it'll be the driving.
Yeah.
But this guy in Mineola, he sees me in my fucking overalls and my mucks, and he's like,
in Mineola. He's like, what the fuck are you doing
What
here?
are you doing? Where are you going? I'm like,
why do you smell like manure?
Exactly. That sweet smell manure.
Yeah.
And I work on a poultry farm out when I was working out at Browder's.
Yeah.
In Mattituck, I do this, I do that. And he's blown away. He's like, I have little girls. They want chickens. Like, could you help us? He has called me every day this week. He sent me a picture of his daughter with her little broiler. Or no, it's a barred rock. She's got a little barred rock. And she, they're calling me. They're like, we did it. We got 5 birds. And we're going to have our own chicken eggs and whatever. And I was like, this is amazing. In Mineola. So I grew up in Garden City. I'm like, this can be done. This can be done.
Wow. No, it can't. Okay. So yeah, gosh. this is a big dream of me and Chris, but we want to have more workshops on the farm. I mean, a dream of ours is to have a poultry butchery workshop, and
You got great feedback when you put that out there.
Oh,
though.
yeah, no, I know. And like, I started looking into it, and I'm like, oh my God, I need like a fucking certified kitchen and like all this shit. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it, but I think I might be able to pull it off, but it might not be like until the end of this year.
Yeah. But the seed's been planted and it's moving.
Been planted. Yeah, no. So I want to do that. I want to do all those. I think classes are really, really good for people.
Totally.
And it's really important to hammer in the fact that, like, once you get chickens or ducks or turkeys or whatever kind of bird that you're raising for food, your life is over.
Right.
You're not going on vacation anymore.
Yeah. Unless you have a really reliable friend who, I guess.
Yeah, but good luck, man. Like, good luck finding a friend who'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll take care of your chickens. We haven't been on vacation since we started our own farm. Mm-hmm. It's been 7 years. And, like, don't...
It's the tenacity to do it, though.
Oh, my God. No, but listen to this. Like, Chris's grandmother dies, right? Chris's grandmother dies. I have to stay on the farm because someone's got to stay on the farm, even though I loved Grandma Joyce and I couldn't go see her in her, like, whatever funeral attire and send my blessings. Like, your life changes once you start taking care of animals.
Yeah.
So that is something that we always drive home, is like, be dedicated. Like, if you get animals, you get a pig, you get a whatever, your life's over.
Yeah.
It's
unless
over.
You're ready to slaughter it, but if you need to go, which is a different kind of person.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the only way Chris and I would ever be able to get away would be if, like, somebody stayed at our house, because we also have a cat and well, we'd probably bring our dog, but we can't bring our cat with us. So we have a cat, and then we've got, like, right now we've got like over 2,500 birds.
It's amazing.
So, like,
and you're hatching quail.
Oh, yeah.
Quails have been hatched.
Yeah, we're doing all sorts of crazy shit because the pandemic has forced us to. The economic conditions that we're enduring right now have forced us to. It has forced us to do so many things that we had thought about doing in the beginning, but we were like, there are so many other people who hatch these things, who hatch quail. Quail specifically have been a huge problem for us because we used to get from a guy up in Maine. His name was Bruce. Bruce was the man. Bruce had great genetics. His quail were from Maine, so they were really cold hardy, so we could have our quail out on pasture all year round.
Wow.
Not a problem, because they were from fucking Maine.
Yeah.
And we're on the east end of Long Island, which is like one of the most mild places to grow in the Northeast, right?
It's a vacation to those quail.
As soon as the pandemic hit, I would say within 4 months he went out of business.
Whoa.
And the reason for that was because, so he raised bob white quail, jumbo brown quail, and then a bunch of show quail. And then he raised like some other birds and stuff like that too. But any of the birds that he hatched that he couldn't sell as hatchlings, he would raise and sell to restaurants, wholesale.
Wow. No, you don't make your money that way, right?
No, and he, when the pandemic hit and everything closed.
You have no business.
And, I had tried to get in touch with him that year, 2020, like in March, to put in my big order, because that's what we do every year. I call him up on the phone, we shoot the shit. He was the man. Or he is the man. He's still alive. It's not like he's dead.
Yeah, well, that's good.
But,
But his business is dead. That sucks.
Well, here's an upside. So the last time I spoke with him, he called me up and he was like, look, I'm sorry, I haven't been avoiding you. He's just like, I had to make a really hard decision. He goes, I want to keep the farm. I want to keep the farmland. I want to keep my house. I want to keep my family here. He goes, so I have to stop the business. And I'm sorry, but we can't sell quail to you this year. And we were gutted because, number one, Bruce was the man. Bruce
was support great people.
And he was really, really responsible with his genetics. He didn't inbreed. He didn't line breed. Like, his quail were great. They weren't aggressive. They got big quickly. They laid great eggs. Oh, man. He had some great genetics. And he disappeared. So then we had to make a relationship with another quail grower that's in Virginia, and he's great too. His name's Jeff, and you know, he does a good business, but he doesn't hatch nearly as many quail as Bruce did.
Right, and you guys need X amount.
Yeah, and so we did a little more research, because this is all research, and we came across Southwest Game Birds. They're in Arizona, but they work with the James Marie Quail Ranch in Louisiana, and James Marie Quail Ranch is like basically the excuse me, beer burps. No. It's basically like the quail mecca. Like, that is where genetics are really honed in on this farm, specifically for meat and egg production.
Wow.
Why
else would you need quail? Show quail. Like dogs,
yeah,
right?
No, yeah. Oh, there's a big... That's the thing you could get into. You can get into showing birds, but bird people who show are weird.
Is that only in the South? Where is that? I don't know.
Oh my God, it's everywhere.
Really?
Oh my God.
Well, I might start something up on Long Island then.
I mean, you could. You could.
A cock show?
Yeah, cock fanciers of the North Fork.
We'd get some characters showing up to that, thinking something else.
Me too. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's been a struggle, and so now we are. So we're working now with Southwest Game Birds. They know what we want to do. They also know that we want to pasture raise our quail, which they're just like, what? And I'm like, look. We've been doing it for 7 years.
We're going to keep doing it.
We worked out all the kinks. We've lost countless quail because of it. We've made so many mistakes.
So typically people would raise quail inside.
Yeah. Oh, well, inside or in outside in like raised cages.
Right.
Which makes sense. No shit on them. Like, they're probably way more profitable than we were in the beginning.
Right.
Because we trying to figure out how to do it. We lost a lot of birds.
Yeah.
They would just fly away.
Wow.
And they would try to come back. Some of them would come back. I mean, actually, a lot of them would come back. We'd find like a couple dozen like around the house in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But they're tiny and delicious, and everything wants to eat them. So if they got lost, you know, a raccoon would eat them, a fox would eat them, a hawk would eat them, a crow would eat them.
Yeah.
Anything would eat them.
Sure.
So like we've lost a lot.
How about your Cornish crosses? I've heard that people don't raise those outside at all because they're such bitch to raise outside. But you guys got them on pasture. They're looking beautiful, fine.
Yeah. So Cornish crosses we actually just added last year.
Cool.
The reason why we added them last year was for a number of different reasons. Number one, heritage chicken genetics are becoming hard to come by.
Right.
Most of the genetics for heritage chickens that are openly available on the large scale market are for show. So they're not being raised for meat qualities, egg laying qualities, or anything like that. And we had a good source for some heritage chicken genetics, and then again they went the wayside because so many small farms are going out of business because of everything that's going on economically, and everything that's going on in the government with certain regulations. I mean, it's very hard to be a small farm.
Right, making you jump through hoops.
Yeah, because we have to do a bunch of the things that all the big guys do, but we don't have nearly as many resources. So we're getting...
Especially in this day, no one wants to work. Can't afford employees and shit.
True. I mean... Yeah, no, we want one good employee, and man, if you're still around next year, like, we'll hire you. I'm dead serious. Chris and I seriously talked about it. I'm like, who should we hire? And I was like, I would hire Kelly.
That's great.
I'd fucking hire Kelly to fucking schlep through the fields and like feed our birds.
You guys can trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's not a lot of people we could trust.
I know. I care about quality and transparency just as much as you guys do.
Right, the Cornish crosses. So yeah, no, they really thrive indoors. Mm-hmm. They really, really do. If it actually is far more efficient and far more cost effective to raise a Cornish cross inside in a barn than it is to raise them on pasture. Mm-hmm. These birds are bred to sit in front of a feeder and eat and drink water and get fat and move minimally.
Yeah.
That's what they're bred to do. They're bred to be like 4 pounds in 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, what do you... Yeah.
And that's the typical bird you'd find in a grocery store.
Correct. And what people don't realize is that even us small farmers raise the Cornish cross. I think it's something like It's between 90 and 96% of the chickens raised for meat are some iteration of Cornish cross.
They must be at this stage of the game, right?
There's a few different lines of genetics. There's like the Cobb, like a Cobb 3. I can't get all these names right. You can look it up on Google.
Yeah.
But like there's like the Cobb 300, and then there's this kind of Cornish cross and that kind of Cornish cross.
And when you say bred for, you mean like just through the years they've been weathered to do certain things? Like, how do you breed a bird for something, you know?
Well, one of the things the Cornish cross has that no other breed has is they're bred for the obesity genetic.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Oh, well, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So there's that. They're bred for their docileness. Mm-hmm. They're bred for feed consumption. So basically, as these large breeders are looking for these certain qualities in their chickens, and they will select out the hens and the roosters that have desirable genetics, and they will keep breeding them together to create the ultimate chicken.
I see.
The Cornish cross was developed through the Chicken of Tomorrow contest in the World Fair in 1950 something.
Whoa.
Yeah, look that up. Everyone look that up.
That
the
sounds
Chicken
crazy.
of Tomorrow. And that's where the Cornish cross
Is that still a
came from.
thing?
It's fucking here. It's
Yeah.
here in the pasture. The Chicken of Tomorrow is today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We got it.
So the only downside of these chickens, besides the fact that they sometimes grow too fast, they have heart attacks because of that. Sometimes they have difficulties walking. This is why we have roosters. It sees something that we don't, and see how he's calling in all the hens to go near the houses.
Wow,
that's
amazing.
That's why we have roosters. Look, he's calling them all in. He's like one of the last ones to come in.
What a noble man.
Yeah, little Yeti.
Little Yeti's a big old rooster.
Yeah, see? So, and anyway, I can get into how we pick our roosters later, but like Chris and I have a very rigorous thing of how we pick our roosters for the flock, because you'll also notice he's very friendly.
Yeah. I've known some mean-ass fucking roosters in my day. That's why I'm like, why do you have two of them?
Oh, because they're nice. Otherwise, they'd be in the soup pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So there's a lot of things that are not great about the Cornish cross. But, you know, we started offering them because of our inability to source good heritage genetics. And then also because people were out of work. People were not making as much money, and they're still not making as much money. And I was like, Chris and I were like, we need to offer an alternative that is cheaper than our heritage breeds, so that people who still want to get chicken from the farmer's market, you know, if they want to, they can. Yeah. And still, we still can't reach everybody else, even though we take food stamps, we do the whole thing. And like I'm able to take food stamps through Grow NYC, the green markets, and then like I said, my accountant has set it up so that like if somebody wants to purchase a CSA share and they want to use some of their food stamps, like I can do that now. You know, so that's why we're raising the Cornish cross, because they're so efficient.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So it's like
affordable for everybody involved.
It's 2 pounds of feed per pound of meat.
So how the fuck do you do that math? How do you figure that out? That's big ROI. Return on investment, motherfuckers. I just learned that word.
I'm half Jewish, so.
Okay, well, if you're not.
You're not, you're fucked. Did I just turn this off? I don't know.
I don't know.
Is it muted?
There you go.
Okay. Yeah,
that's just what we need. Mute you right when it gets to it.
Yeah, as soon as I mentioned shoes, it muted me.
They're like, don't tell our secrets.
Don't. Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, no, Chris and I joke a lot about that, but I went, look, even though my degree is in English literature and French, I went to a business school, and like I had to take business classes as a prerequisite to graduate, and that really helped me. I didn't know that I was going to farm when I was in college. I had no goddamn idea. I was like, I'm going to be a diplomat and a journalist. Can you imagine? I'd be a fucking awesome diplomat, but I probably...
You basically are a diplomat.
Food diplomat.
Yeah.
That's what I've relegated myself to, and that's totally cool. But yeah, no, oh God. Yeah, no, food stamps are important. So that's why we're raising Cornish crosses. And I completely agree. I think that, raising these Cornish crosses on pasture makes them more expensive because it does make them less efficient. They're basically bred to eat feed, sit in front of the feeder, and like be in air conditioning all day.
Wow. I would love that. Could I live that life?
Well, yeah, and then you have one bad day.
And then one bad day.
One bad day, and I'm just...
I mean, I was a vegan, like, when I was in college, so...
I was a vegetarian.
And my favorite thing now is to, like, be my little self talking to another vegan vegetarian and be like, yeah, I slaughter animals now on a weekly basis.
Why were you vegan? I gotta ask.
For all the skewed reasons that people are, that it was healthier for me to take animal products out of my diet. That was based off of pure propaganda and peer pressure, being around other vegans. I never thought that I was someone who even succumbed to peer pressure. I thought that I was someone who was, I'm the shepherd, not the sheep. That's always what I thought I was, until I left art school and was like, I am this weak-minded, physically weak as well, individual who just hopped on a bandwagon. I thought had a lot of integrity.
These sound good.
They sound great.
Yeah, they sound good. And I want to believe that the intention behind them is good.
But here's reality.
Yeah.
And you need it, because a huge dose for me was like, I don't want to support factory farming. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. While I simultaneously turn a blind eye to every small farm individual who is working their fucking dick off to bring quality meats or food to their community, when I'm just sitting here on the sidelines yelling about shit.
Eating greens from California.
Eating greens from fucking probably China. Like, who even
Avocados
knows?
From Mexico. Hold on. What else? What other things? Papayas from who the fuck knows where. Yeah. I make jackfruit into meat stuff. Like, no.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Your tofurkey is like not it. And I didn't know that. And I was I would eat the Beyond stuff, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I remember one day I went so mentally off cuff while I was a vegan that I sat down with somebody to talk to them, and I'm like, I just have days where I'm like, I really need a chicken noodle soup. And she laughs at me. This woman and I sitting fucking as close as you and I are. Wow. And she was like, Kelly, you have put strains on your own mind while your body is telling you that it needs something. Mm-hmm. And that is the ideology that I fell into, that so many girls my age, and fucking men, fuck them.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. Most of the time it's young women.
Yeah, and 99%
that's a whole other
of
conversation, because I was vegetarian for that kind of reason. Like, I had a weird relationship with food, and that's why I fell into that trap. But that's a whole other... That's another episode.
It is another episode.
Yeah.
I mean, how many young girls I know who are on that same thing?
Oh, I know.
And it really... I mean, it changed my life wholeheartedly. And that's what got me into all the organic stuff of like, chemicals are making me off balance. Like, there are things...
And they could be. They absolutely could be. And there are studies that show...
I know, we're fucking... I don't care.
There are studies that show that certain lifetime accumulation of chemicals used in agriculture, and also in, like, treating water supplies, or the microplastics now that are everywhere.
Everything we eat.
Yeah, that's the corporation's fault, though. They could create
We eat
packaging.
a credit... Did you see that statistic? We eat a credit card's worth of plastic, like, almost on a weekly basis, or a monthly basis.
On a weekly basis?
Who knows? It's all propaganda these days, but it could be. Anything could be true, which is the issue, which is why we're doing this podcast, because you can find anything to back up what you think or what you want to think.
That's true.
I'll find a plastic scientist to talk to.
I mean, you should.
We'll bring him out to the pasture. And
please, this could be a regular spot for you to do this. I think this is a great spot.
This is great. I'll have to get a wind wall.
Yeah. I bet your microphones are catching all this, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you'll find out.
Let's hope. You guys can let us know. This is just episode 2. It'll get better.
Yeah.
Or it won't. It'll get even worse.
Yeah, or it won't. Fuck you.
But I mean, it's wonderful to just sit down and chat with you. It's so informative, and you guys have been, for me at least, like a huge inspiration. Whether it be like care about quality, care about transparency, or just goddamn do the work every day. You're one of the staples in our community on the North Fork.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing.
If we were able to, I wish that everyone could eat our stuff.
One day.
I hope so.
Don't blink.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah, if you want to give us money, that's cool.
Yeah,
My Venmo.
I'll link us up in the Nature Lyceum. You guys can find Abra's Venmo and their farm store and everything.
Yeah,
or come
Dude,
visit us.
I'll give you receipts. I'll show you exactly how we spend it. Yeah.
Well, that's the coolest thing. Like, fucking as authentic as it gets. Just you care about what you do. And the quality you bring to people.
We have to. Well, thank you again. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll fucking bring a 12-pack next time. We'll